JBH Boutique Care offers you a unique exclusive membership in our nationwide concierge medical services network. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Judine Bontemps-Hill. I'm double board certified in family and obesity medicine. We pair exclusive personalized care with accessibility and convenience. A better way for you to receive immediate quality medical care. Whether at our main Orlando, Florida office, traveling across the U.S. or visiting the States, we bring you the best medical care without waiting for an appointment. Become a member today by calling 407-234-5282 or visit us online at jbhmeg1.com. JBH Boutique Care is proud to sponsor Sounds of the Diaspora, music and conversations with artists, and host Dion Parson every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora, Artist to Artist, conversation with yours truly, Dion Parson. It's really an honor and a pleasure to have our special guest tonight. Grammy Award-winning musician, drummer, percussionist, educator, composer, and producer. Someone that I've met in the late 90s in New York City, a dear friend, an inspiration as well, and all around great musician, man. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Terreon Gully.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, man. How you doing, Tank?
I'm cool, man. Just chilling here in Atlanta, running around.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out of. I know you're busy, man. You pulled off the side of the road to have this conversation with me, man. I appreciate it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, how you been?
I'm good. I'm trying to, keep the fires burning. Had some time off this summer. But it's been good. Practicing, shedding, writing, creating.
Okay. Yeah, good. Well, man, you are one of the most on-demand drummers, not only in Atlanta, but in New York and, with the folks that you're working with and doing your thing. And you have built a really great career as, again, not only as a percussionist, because you train as a classical percussionist as well, but as an educator and a composer and a producer. But how did you put all of that together? Like, how did Terreon start? How, what was your upbringing like?
Oh, man, like many musicians, I was raised in a church,
Okay.
And I like to say, when I say that, I like to say pre-Pro Tools church, so it's a whole nother thing, I'm talking organ and drums church, that was my introduction to quote unquote live music, that I can remember. That was the first thing I saw. And then shortly after that, when I was old enough to know what music was, I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. I was in this ensemble called Sunshine in the Ghetto. And Sunshine taught African tradition rhythms from the West Africa, dancing and stilt walking and fire breathing, to the people in the ghetto, and he had this killer ensemble. And I think they're going to do like a 40th anniversary celebration next month or something. But that was my first, outside of church, that was my first introduction to organized music, so that had a big impression on me and my life and my music, even to this day, I heard rhythms at 8 years old that once I became an adult, I was like, oh man, I was doing that when I was, 8. I remember this. And it took me a while, but I had this funny story. Like, I was in Atlanta, as a grown adult, and I was in a workshop with Morchime. And if people don't know, Morchime is a West African djembe master. But he's also the father of Akon, the big super producer, But he was in this doing this clinic, and he started playing all these rhythms and these sounds, and I'm like, man, I was playing them, and he's like, man, how you know all this? I'm like, I'm curious, like, how you know it? I don't know. And ends up more time when he came from Africa, East St. Louis was the place that he first came to from Africa. So he taught Sunshine and a bunch of other guys, Sensoko and some other people. Sensoko and Morcham taught Sunshine and some other people in East St. Louis, the West African stuff. So like that was a big influence in my life and my music. I heard these rhythms from Africa at an early age.
Right.
And that's been a big part of my development, But that was some of my earliest training. And then after being in church, I was fortunate enough to go to East St. Louis Lincoln Senior High School, where Ryan Carter, the great educator, saxophonist, singer, was the director, and that's also the home of Miles Davis. That's where he went to school at, where he studied under Dr. Buchanan. But I was just lucky to be in East St. Louis at that school at that time because Carter introduced jazz to us, and to me, So that was a life-changing experience, being at this public high school that literally surrounded. Right now, I drive by there every time I go back home to East St. Louis. I was there last week and drove around. But it was literally surrounded by projects, like 3-4 different projects, and you have this one high school, and man, he changed my life and the lives of so many others,
Right.
And then after that, I, matriculated and went to the University of Houston. And the reason I got there was because of Mr. Carter, to rewind, like, playing in church, playing in Afro and the Sunshine in the Ghetto. I didn't read any music, but I got to Carter, and I'll never forget, I sat in and I think I played like Cafe El More or something. Couldn't read a lick of music, but they was like, man, you sound good. But you can't read worth a damn, but so that whole first year, Carter gave me some workbook and I sat out in the hallway, doing the math of this workbook to learn how to read. And then fast forward that next year, I was in all state, all district, and all this stuff, first chair or whatever that is in high school. But during that, I met Mr. Marvin Sparks, who became, a mentor, and he invited me to these percussion camps, and I went to these percussion camps a couple of times when I was in high school, where I met people like Lois Nash, and Dugu Chancellor, all these great people, who were professional percussionists, So it was at that point where I learned that you can actually be a professional and make money from playing drums and percussion and all these things. So that was a life-changing experience. But meet Mr. Ron Carter, I tell people the story. I had scholarships to Berklee School of Music, to Bethune-Cookman, to Florida State. I had scholarships all over the country because of the work that Ron Carter had did. These schools would actually come to our high school to recruit us because they knew he had such a killer band program,
Right.
With people like Russell Gunn, Tony Suggs, Andre Roberson, Carvel Halls. A lot of people came out of that program. Montez, Charles Haynes, all of us came from under Mr. Carter. And so people would come to the school to recruit us. And so I had no idea. I had room and board for many schools. I had no idea which one I was going to. And I came home one day from jazz band rehearsal, and I think it was like after Bible class or after choir rehearsal or something. She was like, oh, my mom was like, yeah, you leaving in like 2 weeks. You going to the University of Houston. I was like, all right. And that's how it was, So although we had all these recruitments and things, it wasn't like a big, what would you say, big counselors on like, this is where you should go because of this reason or whatever.
Right.
I often tell people that I would have been on the scene a lot earlier if I'd have gone to Berklee or New School or something. But I know I wouldn't know as much as I know as a musician right now, because I probably would have got there and ended up on the road playing really fast like a lot of people. But man, the education I got from being with Sparks and what he introduced me to as far as the Afro-Cuban music and Brazilian music. He used to take us to musicals, and he would go to Cuba and bring back the audio tapes and show us the real stuff.
Right.
So I got big experience from being at the University of Houston. So I'm grateful, for that education. And I always say that things happen when they happen. They don't happen for everybody the same way, And so I'm grateful for when my stuff happened and how it happened, that I was able to get a lot of information from being in Houston,
That's great, man. And what I'm enjoying is, like, even though your upbringing from an academic standpoint and a literary standpoint, wasn't there at the beginning, you got the feeling of the music, you got introduced to the African rhythm, you got connected with the diaspora right away. And then when you got around someone that could connect the dots from the academic side with the reading and all of that, then that came to light. But you already had the foundation as a performer, and it makes a lot of sense, and it brings a different spirit to that level, versus like to read right away and then trying to figure out how to play. So yeah, man. But from the first time I met you, man, in New York City, the cast was like, "Oh man, this is new cat in town. He's killing. He's playing." And you were always thorough in everything you did. You got somebody's music, you went home, you learned it, you showed up, you was on the gig. Because I remember Marc coming back as like, "Yo, D, I know you just got out the room, but you got to hear this recording." Because Marc recorded everything.
Yeah, I know, man. He still be sending me recordings of something we did umpteen years ago.
Yep, I still get them too, man. I remember the first gig we did at Sweet Basil. He's got the video of that. He hit me up like a month ago with some clips of that, and I was like, "Whoa, blast from the past!" Yeah, it's a good thing because it shows you, like, where you came from and how you've grown and stuff. That's how I met you is through your affiliation with Marc initially, and I was like, okay. Marc was like, "Yeah, he just shows up. He shows up knowing everything." That's the first thing Marc said.
That's funny.
But that's great, man. And then you made your rounds through New York City, and you ended up playing with some great musicians, man. And I know you spent a lot of time with Stefon Harris, and then you got the chair with Dianne Reeves and some folks, man. How was that as you made your rounds through New York and started landing these really nice professional gigs, man? How did that come about?
Man, I remember it was great and scary at the same time. I'll get back to that. But one of the very first gigs I got was through Marc Cary. Like you said, I used to be at Marc's crib all the time. Me, him, and Roy Hargrove would just be making up and playing stuff with Tars Martine.
Right.
And Marc would just hit record, then next thing you know, it's a record out,
Right.
And even to the day, he's still releasing records and singles with stuff we did back then.
Right.
But Marc got me on the Abbey Lincoln gig, and I was just I was looking for some document for Downbeat to go when I was gonna make this post about Downbeat. When I was in high school, high school or either my first year in college. I think it was still in high school. I was in Downbeat as somebody to watch out for. So I was looking for this document, and I found my itinerary with Abbey Lincoln, the very first one.
Wow.
And it was probably like a 15-day tour, and I think we had like 12 days off. But like Abbey used to take the time out. But to your point where Marc was saying, like, I remember I was like, man, when we gonna rehearse? When I'm gonna get the CD to check out the music? They're like, "Oh, no, you cool, whatever." And I never forget, like, we did the sound check. I think we did one ballad with Abbey, And that was it. I'm like, man, we ain't gonna rehearse. I'm like freaking out. They're like, "Nah, you could." So it was for the CD release of Another World. And we did a double bill with Randy Weston, So
Right.
I'm like, oh man, nervous and whatever. And then I was like, I get on the stage, set up my stuff, and we do an opening tune with Abbey and Marc. I had never like really played with Marc with his trio music. We was doing other stuff.
Right.
He's like, "Okay, run it out of time. 1, 2." I had no idea what this song is, and he just called it, and we playing this tune. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is New York. I'm like, okay, and then I do the whole gig with Abbey like that, no rehearsal.
Right.
Playing Mr. Tambourine Man, playing all these songs that I've never heard, I tried to do some homework, but she had a bunch of records before that. You
Right.
know, it was insane. But I did the whole gig with no rehearsal, no music, just counting the tunes off and we going.
Right. Welcome to New York, bro.
Yeah. And you say like the other people I played with. So shortly after that, I hooked up with Stefon. We met, you know, same thing. We met at Monterey, I believe, and he's like he had a gig. Would I be interested? Did the gig with him. We did like a quick sound check and did the gig. No music. I'm like, all right. And actually, he just texted me just like 5 minutes ago.
Mm.
You know, saying that he's everywhere he go now. He's seeing pictures and stuff, reminding him of Casey. You know, we lost our brother earlier this year.
Yeah.
And you know, so we still dealing with that. You know, we've been family, you know, since like 99 or something,
Right.
like really for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, so I was doing that, and then somebody reminded me that I did start playing with Christian McBride. You know, I was in New York early on at the Vanguard talking to Tane outside. He's like, man, you'll be killing for this gig. You interested in, and I'm gonna recommend you to Christian McBride.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from that, I know of, Tane is like one of the few drummers who actually recommended me for a gig, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I never forget, I was at the North Sea Jazz Festival and just happened to be in my hotel room at the time. And I get a phone call and it's, yo, you know, Christian, this is Christian McBride, you know, with his deep voice, you know. I'm like, first of all, how did he know I was in the North Sea? How did he know I was at the hotel, you know? I'm like, it was like the strangest thing. He's like, would I be interested in hitting with him? I'm like, of course, you know.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I never forget, we was at the Toronto Music Festival. And like we got there super early in the morning, had all day, we chilling, hanging out, shooting the breeze. And I'm like, you know, what music we gonna play? You know, like what's happening? He's like, oh, we cool. You
Mm-hmm.
know, play some tunes, whatever. So I'm like, remember, we was all chilling and we got dressed backstage in the tent. I'll never forget, got suited up. As soon as we walk on the stage, he handed me a book of music. I'm like, wait a minute. And then the first tune he calls is NdegeOcello. And I don't know if you know,
Yeah.
that's like this joint in 15 something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, thank God I can read a little bit, you know? And that was the first hit I did with, you know, the Christian McBride band. But
Mm-hmm.
actually our first gig we did was like a funk hit with Samuel Hale, Fred
Mm-hmm.
Wesley out in Aspen. That was the first gig we ever did. But with the CMB,
Mm-hmm.
that was my introduction to the CMB. Handed me a book of music right before we went on stage, and the first tune being NdegeOcello.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a
So
killer
cats,
band too. That's a killer
yeah,
band. Yeah.
yeah. So we actually doing a reunion gig early in January. It'll actually be like 25 years since live at Tonic.
Right.
Yeah. So hopefully we're gonna do a big tour in 26. But you know, so like back to your original question, like it was amazing playing with all these different people, and then playing with Dianne Reeves shortly after that. You know, I used to have this gig um, at it was a seafood restaurant on the Chelsea Pier, the Crab Shack,
Mm-hmm.
and me, my brother Carlos, Kelvin Scholar, and sometimes Chris Scholar, and this vocalist who now lives in Paris. We would play every Friday and Saturday, man. They would pay us a good like $150
Mm-hmm.
each, feed us good, you know, get a good meal. And
Yeah.
then after that, I would shoot over and do the Blue Note Jam session with Charles Blenzik and Sean Conley.
Mm-hmm.
So this lasted for like a year or two. And the dope thing about that was that no matter what the gig was, whomever it was, 9 times out of 10, they would be cool and let me play their drums.
Right.
And depending on the drum setup would determine what kind of music we would play, you know?
Right.
So like I met so many what was cool because I get to go and check out the artists, whomever would play, I guess they last few songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then shortly after they get off, we would go up and start the jam session.
Right.
So I believe Herlin Riley heard me playing down there one night after Dianne Reeves. And he told them they should check me out, you know. And then like a week later, they was like, man, Dianne got this big tour. Would you be interested in doing it? I was like, of course. So that's how I got the gig with Dianne. But another great connection was one time Charlie Watts' big band was playing, and then after they got through, I came and sat in, and since he had the big band set up, I was just tipping and playing some straight ahead. And man, he sat there the whole set while we played until we started letting people sit in to introduce himself to me. And from that point on, man, we were really good friends. Whenever he came to New York, we would hang out. I would go to shows all over the world to see the Stones, and
Right.
he was one. He would come and check me out at Disney's or wherever I would play. If he was in town, he would come and see me. So I
Right.
loved and truly respected Mr. Watts. He was an incredible, incredible human being. And I remember one time he invited me to the premiere of the Rolling Stones movie. And it was myself, Charlie Drayton, Will Calhoun, and Roy Haynes.
Wow.
And going to the premiere, and we went back and hung out with Charlie afterwards. He was an incredible human being. So my early days in New York was like a whirlwind. And one thing I did that was kind of different from a lot of people, I didn't let people know that I did everything because I didn't want to get pigeonholed,
Yeah.
So I was doing the Black Rock Coalition with Helga Davis and Melvin Gibbs and different people like that, the guys from In Living Color. I did that stuff. Then I did the underground live
Right.
drum and bass at the Izzy Bar. Or I would do the live hip hop stuff at the Wetlands. I was doing all these different things, and I never let people know but eventually people found out. But I didn't want people to think I couldn't do something because I was doing something else. So I was
Right.
really careful to keep all those things separate,
Yeah, that's important in New York, man, because you'll get pigeonhole, man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, man. That's great, man. I did a similar thing, doing the Caribbean thing, and then doing the straight ahead stuff, and then doing the Broadway shows. It's like a couple cats that really read like Kenny Davis and Smitty Smith. It was like, yo, man, if you could get a Broadway show, get a Broadway show, bro, because on those days off, yeah. And that's great, man. You were very fortunate to have all of those wonderful opportunities. But again, you were prepared when you came to New York, man. You were prepared on a certain level. A lot of cats come to New York doing the jam session scene, still trying to figure stuff out. But you came to New York with your repertoire intact, and it was just a matter of you just finding, the niche that you needed to find in the different genres.
Yeah, that was part of it. And also, like, when I was in college, my teacher Sparks, he made me audition for this Disneyland All-American College Band.
Right.
And he drove me himself 4 hours plus to Denton, Texas, to North Texas. And you know what North Texas is. That's the drum school, especially back then. All the best drummers were coming out of North Texas. So I had to go and audition. I'm like, man, why am I going to audition in North Texas? But anyway, I did the audition, and they was like, he had to sight read some music. And they was like, I was the first person in the country to sight read all the stuff perfect. I ain't mess up nothing. I caught all the hits, did everything, sight read the music perfect. So I ended up getting the Disney College Band thing. But
nice.
it was kind of cheesy. We had to march around, Disneyland in California in these polyester, red, white, and blue outfits. I played bass drum and we were singing and stuff. But the cool thing, we had like one sit-down performance for like 15, 20 minutes where we would get all these guests come in. We had Matt Cattengoo, we had Alice Marcellus, and he brought Jason with him one time. But so it was only 15 minutes or 20 minutes of sitting down playing drum set. But the cool thing about that summer, and that was life-changing for me, is that I was in a room, an apartment with musicians from North Texas, saxophonists from North Texas, Berkeley, Manhattan School, New School. It was like 5 of us. And what we would do is sit down and play poker and listen to each other's CD collection. And these jokers would be singing along with all the, I'm like, man, how do they know all these solos and what's going on? I'm like, so that was like an aha moment. Like, man, So that's what we did when we wasn't at Disney, marching around. We was in the apartment playing poker and listening to music. And one of the hip things that happened that summer, they took us around Disney's and they got us different opportunities. We went to Universal Studios and we went to the Tonight Show. And that's when Branford was the band leader and Tane and Kenny and all those guys was there. So I met Tane, you know, and I asked Tane, I'm like, man, I know you studied classical. Like, how did you really get so good in jazz? Like, what did you do?
Right.
And then he wrote down like 5 records with the drummer, the artist, the record label, and the year. I was like, holy, you know, he knows all this stuff. So to me, that let me know that I had to do a much more pinpoint, more intentional listening, you know. So from that point on, when I got back to the college, you know, and started playing in the band, everybody's like, dang, man, you sound incredible. What happened? Like, you was practicing that much? It wasn't that I was practicing. I was just listening a lot more with intention, you know. So from that point on, even to this day, no matter what the music style is, whether it's drum and bass, two-step, garage, you know, hip-hop, you know, Afro-Cuban, Brazilian music, I really dive into the music and want to get like all the subtle things and figure out what makes this music that music. And I did the same thing with Joshua Redman, with Roy Hargrove, you know, with Kenny Garrett, you know. When I got back, I was addicted to Madden football, so I would turn the sound off on Madden and just have music playing over and over in the loop, you know. And so when I was in the University of Houston, I wasn't playing a lot of straight ahead, you know. I played in a modern big band, but I was sighting reading like salsa gigs, you know. I was playing Afro-Cuban stuff with our ensemble that Mr. Sparks had created, you know. But I wasn't doing a lot of straight ahead. Although I did have a band for like one summer called Now's the Time with my brother, Mike Petrie, Andre Hayward was in there a little bit. And we didn't play a lot, but we did a few gigs. But I was really listening at that time. And, you know, being that my listening was more in tune, I saw that Jeff Watts, you know, he was playing with Michael Brecker, with Kenny Garrett, you know, with Joey Calderazzo, with Branford. He was doing all these gigs. I'm like, man, there's no way possible he can do all those gigs at the same time. So there's opportunities, you know? But at the same time, I was like, man, what is it about Tane and his plan and how he's playing with these people that they want to hire him and they use him, you know?
Right.
So although I don't sound like Tane, I got the concept of what was happening, you know? And we used to laugh in high school because there used to be this old man when we was in high school telling us as high school kids, you're like, man, y'all got that concept. We'd be like, what are you talking about? But the thing is, if you get the concept of something, it's better than trying to transcribe a feel or a certain pattern that you hear, you know? So I'm always searching for the concept of whatever it is I'm checking out. And what is the concept? It's the sound. It's the feel, you know? There's certain vocabularies, all these different things that you have to grasp to really get the concept of the music to be able to play, you know. So when I do sub for people, you know, I'm gonna have the concept of what it is that they like and what they're dealing with, you know. And that's also one of the challenges of you know, being a drummer. You know, you got to play the gig, you know. And I heard people be like, "Oh, Terreon can't play," you know, because they might hear me and I'm just playing ballads the whole gig. You know, I may not do a fill the whole gig. I might just play 2 and 4, you know. But I learned early on, and thankfully, you know, it took me a while to realize, but like, man, these drummers are not paying me. They're not hiring me, you know. I'm not going to be concerned about what another drummer thinks about what I'm doing or not doing. I'm only going to make sure I'm making the music happen and do what I need to do to make the music, and then bring myself into the music if I'm allowed to be creative and try to make the music go other places. But that was like the shackles were lifted off, you know, like I was free to just be a great musician. And that was one of the biggest compliments I got when I moved to New York was like, yo, you listen. Like people were telling me, I'm like, man, I thought all musicians listen, but I still find even to this day, that's not the case, man. I hate seeing all these musicians in their own world, no communication. It's like, I'm like, that's the hip part about jazz and like most music. You listening to each other, you know, and making conversations with each other. But
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. But like you mentioned something that's important, man, playing the gig, you know,
Oh yeah.
playing the gig, man. I learned that with Fatters. He said that to me once and it hit. And I was like, I got you, bro. You know, but it makes a lot of sense. But again, you know, you had a great foundation, man. You had somebody that was there mentoring you, that gave you the right information, the pearls, and help you to understand what a concept is. That's what a lot of cats are missing, man. You know, a lot of cats really are missing concepts, the conceptual aspects of genres of music. It's important, man. But your journey is something that tells its own story. And you know, when I hear or if I'm talking to Ron or somebody's like, yo, Terreon's on a gig, I'm like, cool, I gotta check this out. You know, it's like I know what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get like the right stuff, and it's gonna be very musical and very uplifting, man. And that's something you bring to the table, man. So thank you for your musicianship. And I hope I hope these young cats out here listening understand what you're saying, because again, a lot of cats don't understand what concept means. They really don't. Yeah, man. But you shared some music with us. We've been doing some talking, man. And we could stay here forever. But
I know, man.
You shared some music with us, and as you talk about your journey, the first song you shared with us is called "The Journey." You know, so tell us briefly what that is, and we're going to check it out.
Yeah, well, I tell you, the story behind this is like the concept of what I'm all about. So I was playing with this group called Spirit Fingers, which is a Greg Spiro's group, and killing band. And Black Dynamite was the original drummer, but I think he's doing more of his own stuff. So they asked me would I join the band. So I, joined the band, and we did a week in San Francisco at the Black Hat, and we supposed to come back to LA and record a live record. And so like while we at the Black Hat, the bass player tells us, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I can't make next week. I got this big tour." So he rolled out. So it was like, okay, we can't do the music that we've been shedding on all week. And so they was gonna cancel the gig. I was like, no, man, let's not do that. Let me call my boy Keyon, and let's go and do a gig, and let's make some music.
Right.
Let's not call any standards. Let's not call any tunes. Let's be musicians. And I just learned about this young musician, this young bass player, and got him on the gig. And I'm like, nah, let's just listen and make up something. And that's what we did. The whole set was made up, and they recorded it and released a bunch of killing singles that got a lot of good plays and a lot of great reviews. But it's like the epitome of what I think jazz should and could be, is like musicians listening and creating, setting a vibe, taking you on a journey. And this is one of those songs, The Journey.
Let's check it out, The Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. That's the journey. The journey is live, man. That's not rehearsed. That's all improvised, huh?
All improvised. Nothing. That's just like us just vibing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to play with musicians who that's like who don't listen. Like that's my pet peeve. Whether it's a piano player or any musician, like, and I, as drummers, we back there the whole time, and I hate for like when soloists don't listen to us at all,
Right.
So, but the magic happens when we all listening to each other, and I
Yeah.
think, we all gotta we love the standards, but I think we cut ourselves short as musicians. I saw an interview with Mr. Bartz the other day. He's like, yeah, I'm not improvising. He's like, every time I solo, I'm composing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's how people got to look at it, And I think we must have education in music, but a lot of times they don't teach what's most important, So that's like communicating and telling a story with these melodies. And, you can teach a robot patterns, you can
Right.
teach a robot scales and, these different things, but teach them how to tell a story. And that's what we have to do as artists, and then as musicians, we got to consider the audience,
Yeah.
That's just my point. That's my 2 cents,
No, but you're right, man. I mean, like that's one of the things I love. Like, again, when you first got to town and you was hanging with Marc, and you talk about Marc and Taurus's roommates, and Ron and I was downstairs, and we used to hang. Roy would come by. That's what we do. We just play all day, man. It didn't matter what the song was. And that would take you somewhere, and I would take you somewhere. And out of it, a song might evolve or it might not evolve, but ideas there, and we may play that idea for 4 or 5 months before it turned into something. But it's about just creating, and that's what I hear this, man. B D D D da do D. It sounds like a tune.
Yeah. But you got to, and that's the thing. You got to be patient enough to make the stuff happen, and not let it be about the soloing. And
right.
Let's set a vibe,
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Set a vibe, man. Set a vibe. One of our listeners says, totally cool. I love it, man. So that was great, man. Well, the next song that you shared with us is a song that was made famous by one of the songs made famous by John Coltrane, and you did your own twist to it. So let's check out the Tank version of Softly as in the Morning Sunrise. Let's check it out, and then you tell us about it.
That wasn't soft. That qualifies.
I think that
I was skating on the end though because it felt like it flipped.
There you go, bro. Softly as in the morning sunrise. So that's your arrangement.
Yeah, so like that goes back way back years. We were doing a gig at Jazz Showcase in Chicago with Blackout, and Bernice Boom Travis was on bass, and we were just messing around, and he just started playing this bass line similar to that, and then I remember that bass line, and I was like, this guy's a killing vibe. And one of the things I like to do with standards, I want to make them my own,
Right.
And I want to make them fun to play. So like, I want that bass line is going throughout. Boom, doom, doom, ba-dee-da-doo, doom. So the hits are based off the bass line, but I also wanted the tension of the bass line, not going to the bridge, just setting this vibe up.
Right.
So when we go to the bridge and the swing time, it's a whole change of vibe, And when I sometimes try to get people playing, they want to play they want to hit the notes of the bridge. I'm like, I don't want you to hit the notes of the bridge. I want the tension,
Sure.
We're gonna have the bridge enough in the solo, so
Right.
that's just something just like listening and came up with it,
Yeah. That's a great arrangement, man. And just shortly, because I want to get to the music, but one of the things I admire when I have drummers on the show, man, is the fact that drummers compose an arrangement and come up with some of the hippest stuff.
Yeah. Oh, always,
Yeah.
We just haven't been getting credit all these years, but that's changing. Yeah,
it's changing. It's changing. One of our listeners said, enjoy the arrangement. Other one said, makes me happy. So some great comments from our artists, man. But I'm enjoying the music, man. So let's keep moving. And the next song you have here that you shared with us is Say Something.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's one of the earlier tunes I ever wrote, And that came about, like the title came about because, a lot of times people be soloing long and they don't be saying nothing. You know what I mean? I'm like, as a musician in the band, I'm like, man, hurry up and get done so we can play the melody because you taking too long and you ain't saying nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I'm like, man, if you're gonna solo, say something and get out the way. So that's the concept of this song. But I wrote it. I think I wrote it in college, and fortunately enough, Christian McBride and them, they was like, yo, let's do that song. We recorded it live at Tonic, and people loved it. They're like, man, what you doing with them other drums? Like now it's a big thing with people having multiple snare drums, but I was doing that, 20-something years ago, because I was about sound,
Right.
And a couple of younger drummers, Corey Fineville and Justin Brown, they call me the Allen Iverson of drums, because I came in, you had braids, I had different cymbals, I used different setups,
Right.
And I was, using three snare drums way back then, but just because that's what I was hearing, listening to the music that I was listening to,
Right.
So like people love this sound. People always talk about live at Tonic, and particularly this song because this little snare drum thing that I was messing around with on this tune.
It's funky.
Yeah.
Let's check it out, man. Terreon Gully, Say Something.
I wrote a song for the late, great comedian Flip Wilson. Y'all remember him? In memory of the great Flip Wilson. It's called Clero's Flipped.
Say something. Y'all was definitely saying something, man.
Right on.
That was McBride, right? McBride. That's Ron. And that's...
and your brother Ron Blake. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
From the islands. You know, Blake killing it.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Keezer. Yeah.
Keezer, yep. Yeah, man. Great group, man. I love that band, man. Great stuff, man. Great, right? Like I said, man, drummers compose, it's a whole other thing, you know, and they come up with some amazing stuff, and the inspiration comes, I think it comes differently, because a lot of times, cats write from the horns and stuff, and it's like, I call it like, you know, melodic, like gymnastic stuff, man. There's so much stuff going on, but from a drummer's perspective, man, it's just like groove, pocket, swing, different elements. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, most of my stuff comes from the bass line first, or either I hear just like a melody or a theme that I'm dealing with.
Right.
Comes, and then I go from there. It's usually those two things. It's rarely ever a drum or a rhythm or a time signature. It usually have nothing to do with that. It's just like about the melody and
right,
groove, like you said.
Yeah, great stuff, man. Great stuff, man. Well, we're gonna round this this conversation out with I guess your namesake song, "TANKTIFIED."
Yeah, that song is a play on words, "tanktified" and "sanctified." Because it's my concept, the way how I felt as a kid growing up and looking at the church service, and my concept of a church service. So you got the melody, which is the sermon, and then you have the solos, which are the testimonies, and then on the B section is this funny weird section in 1716, which is the weird section is because the offering. I always thought the offering was weird at church, so that section is kind of a little strange, but it still has a vibe to it because it's necessary. And then the end of the song is this vamp, is like the altar call, like the doors of the church are open. Anybody who need prayers kind of vibe. So that's the concept of this song, "TANKTIFIED," and people have written it out, and it's funny to get the manuscripts of what they think the rhythms are and hear people play it. Like I think it's not even recorded right on this song. Like people have a hard time playing that 1716. I'm like, don't read the music, just play where you feel it, where it's supposed to be.
Right.
But on my new recording that I just recorded, it's right on there. And this finally had the concept that I want. I got Cedric Mitchell playing organ, Andre Hayward playing singing on the trombone. My brother, my younger brother, was raised like my brother. He's speaking on there and singing a little bit at the end. So it has more of the vibe of what I wanted to. So look out for that. That record will actually be called "TANKTIFIED." So look out for that in the future.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we will eagerly await the album "TANKTIFIED" when it's released.
Indeed.
But in the meantime, we're going to check out the single "TANKTIFIED."
Yes.
All right. There you have it, Tanktified by the one and only Terreon Gully. Yes, sir, man. Great song, bro.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I love how it's nice and tight, man. You have the different sections, like you mentioned earlier, but it's nice and tight. Everybody's in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So you mentioned how it came about, because that's is it the playoff for Sanctified, and that's from the church, and that's your version of it. But you wrote a beautiful song, and I can't wait for the album to come out. So when do you anticipate that being released, the Tanktified album?
I'm thinking about the fourth quarter this year or first quarter of next year.
Okay.
I'm trying to get it right, no rush. Just I let some drummers hear it the other day. We was at the Sabian office in LA. Quentin Robertson, John Davis, and Chris Thinkin, a couple man. And they were freaking out. I just let them sneak peek. And my cousin Charles Haynes is mixing it. He's on the road right now with Maxwell. We talked yesterday, so he's going to be out for like another month. So we just got a couple of things to tighten up, and then get to working on some artwork and get it out there to the people. Okay,
great, man. Well, one of the things we do here on Sounds of the Diaspora is like promote projects. So once it's out, man, and you get your social media.
Sure.
Let me know, man. I'd love to have you back, and we could do a full review of the album, and just promote it.
I would love that.
Share it out. We do a listening session. How's that?
I'm down. Count me
Beautiful,
in.
man. Beautiful. So let our audience know how they can follow you on social media or website. Share that information with them.
Yeah, I'm everywhere. I'm just Terreon Gully, TerreonGully at Facebook, at Instagram, on Twitter. And my website is same TerreonGully.com. I'm not the greatest on the social media. I don't post that much, but like if you message me, I guarantee I'll get back with you for sure. But you'll find me there, see where I'm gonna be at. Although I post a lot of times after I'm already gone, so that's kind of a problem. But it's so much work. But, I'm trying, But you can reach me at any of those places: Instagram, Facebook, Messenger.
Beautiful. Well, man, brother Terreon Tank Gully, man, it's been an honor, a pleasure having you on Sounds of the Diaspora, man. I know you're super busy, and I appreciate you saying yes, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule.
I appreciate you, man. You was one of the first people I met. One of the first cool brothers. That was just a cool human being that I met in New York. And me and Mike always be laughing, be like, "Yeah, Dion, man, got it, the flow, bro, the flow."
Yeah, and Marc, man. One thing about Marc, man, he loves rhythms and he loves drumming. Yeah. And so constantly, man, he's in it, man. So he's a good brother, and he keeps good people around him, man. But continue success to you, brother, man. And when
thank you, man.
That, let me know. We'll get you on the schedule. We'll do a listening party.
Yeah, and not just listening party. Come on, man. Bring Tanktified down there to St. Thomas, yo. What's happening? I hear you becoming like you're gonna be like the prime minister in a few years. So like, get me down there before you get too big and can't get me. So like, make it happen. So,
bro, you should have been a comedian, man. Because
I'm telling the truth, man. I'm telling the truth. The truth is oftentimes funny because it's true.
Bro, man, I am just doing my part. That's all I'm doing.
All
man.
right.
University, educating these kids, and just enjoying that, man. But we're gonna wrap our fly, man. Beautiful things are happening here. But you continue success, man, brother Gully, and we'll be in touch.
Thank y'all for having me. Peace.
Yes, sir, man. Peace. Yes, that's the one and only Terreon Tank Gully, man. A good friend, great musician, man. And check him out, man. Tanktified is going to be dropped soon, and we'll have him back to do a listening party and make that happen. But listen, join us next week as we bring to Sounds of the Diaspora one of the most in-demand musicians in New York City, man. I'm super happy to know this brother, and I've played with him in a number of occasions. This cat works 8 days a week, and he plays with everybody, man. Mr. Steve Wilson, a saxophone, is going to join us next week, man. He has a lot to say, and he, just come back and join us, man. So it's been a pleasure hosting you guys for this week's episode of Sounds of the Diaspora. And man, as you can tell, we're having fun, And we wish you a beautiful evening. All the best to you guys. And we'll see you next week. Take care.
JBH Boutique Care offers you a unique exclusive membership in our nationwide concierge medical services network. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Judine Bontemps-Hill. I'm double board certified in family and obesity medicine. We pair exclusive personalized care with accessibility and convenience. A better way for you to receive immediate quality medical care. Whether at our main Orlando, Florida office, traveling across the U.S. or visiting the States, we bring you the best medical care without waiting for an appointment. Become a member today by calling 407-234-5282 or visit us online at jbhmeg1.com. JBH Boutique Care is proud to sponsor Sounds of the Diaspora, music and conversations with artists, and host Dion Parson every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Source TV Radio Network, WTSN, Washington, D.C.